as a result of that, to be honest about it, I was selected, at that time, I was the deputy director at the Port of Tacoma. And I was selected because my background was, I was born and raised in the state of South Dakota, and everybody said that in the Russian Far East it was very cold. And if I was born and raised in South Dakota, I would be able to relate very well to the people in,
So that
in,
was
in the Russian Far East.
deciding factor.
So there was a fact that I could stand cold weather. And so, but I think, no, more fundamentally, I think it was quickly realized that the Port of Tacoma has a special relationship with Alaska. And a lot of people viewed here inside the Port of Tacoma was to say, gee, if we are able to have a good trading relationship with the state of Alaska, why not on the Pacific Rim with Russia? And that's really the impetus that said, Meyer, why don't you go out there and check it out as part of that delegation? So I would say that the real leader was Ralph Monroe, former Secretary of State for the state of Washington. And on my very first visit to the Russian Far East, I fell in love with the people and how it looked. I will tell you that my first impression when I woke up that morning after getting off the Trans-Siberian train in Vladivostok, and I looked out and I said, it looks exactly like Commencement Bay. And to me, it was the start of something that was truly extraordinary in terms of our relationship with the Port of Vladivostok and the Port of Tacoma and Puget Sound in general. And so that was really the start of it, 1990.
1990. So that was even before Vladivostok officially opened for the outside world. Did you take Trans-Siberian from Khabarovsk, or did you go all the way from Moscow?
We actually did a route coming out of SeaTac Airport, went to Anchorage, and then went into the Russian Far East. We didn't go to Moscow. I've never been to Moscow. I've never been to that part of Russia. And in fact, it was really funny when I got back from my very first visit, I was talking about the fact that I visited a city in Siberia, and the person I was talking to said, well, gee, didn't you go to Russia? And I said, wait a minute, I think Siberia is a part of Russia, and I think basically Americans have lost sight or never knew about the Russian Far East is on the Pacific Ocean. Russia touches the Pacific Ocean. Oftentimes it's too much of a Moscow domination in terms of the conversation, and I think we overlook or don't understand that geographic connection.
You are one of the very few people who actually know that, and I've lived here for 15 years, and when you say Vladivostok, Pacific, people just get baffled. They just have no idea what I'm talking about. And it's interesting that you had this discovery yourself and kind of tried to push that direction. But what was the first project? First of all, when did officially the system...
In 1991, we, as a result of that first visit, then we, I was very interested in establishing a relationship with the Port of Vladivostok because I felt there was a lot of similarities. Not only did did the harbor and the whole situation in terms of where it was located, what they were doing there, I felt was a good sister port relationship. So my objective was to try to really establish that relationship, but the real ultimate business objective was to get FESCO to call here at the Port of Tacoma.
FESCO, they didn't come before?
No. And so the idea is by establishing that relationship, we could further our business interests. And as a result of that, FESCO did call at the Port of Tacoma for a while. And as a result, we did establish a sister port relationship thanks to a very special leadership by Mikhail Robkanov, who was the CEO, president of the Port of Vladivostok, commercial port of Vladivostok at that time, and who I consider to be a very close friend, even today.
Yeah, before him, I think it was Viktor Miskov. You probably didn't.
No.
Okay, Robkanov. That's good. So it all started in the port. It all started with you guys, and FESCO started coming there. And the greater impact on Vladivostok, for example, was coming in different other ways. For example, I remember our police department started cooperating, and we got a few police cars.
Yeah, but I think what was interesting also is the fact that it wasn't just about commercial interests or business interests. It also kind of expanded out into the city of Tacoma, establishing a sister city relationship with Vladivostok, and doing the exchange of, or actually police vehicles is one example, but also I'm a Rotarian, and we were instrumental in establishing a Rotary Club in Vladivostok that had, I would consider it to be a community focus, not just a business interest. And so I'm reminded of the welcoming nature of the people in Vladivostok was just incredibly important. And of course, you experience that, I think, with port people generally, no matter what country you go into, because ports by and large are international in focus. But in the case of Port of Vladivostok, as a closed port, now all of a sudden there was more of an international connection because they were growing beyond, just being a port inside the Pacific Fleet naval place. And so I think it was very special also to the port of Vladivostok for opening up more on an international basis.
Yeah, that's correct. And this was a very interesting situation for us who used to live behind the Iron Curtain.
Yes.
Basically, all our life is like the world is suddenly opening, and there was so much excitement. I remember that. But it looks like there was excitement on the other side. And
Just as much.
Yeah, just as much. We had this joint project with the News Tribune, and somehow Tacoma became very important to us for a while. And so, what were the other projects that were? I know Rotary was community oriented, and what exactly were they doing?
Well, the whole idea was to establish a Rotary Club inside, as an example, inside the city of Vladivostok. In fact, I think today there are several Rotary Clubs in Vladivostok.
Really? Huh.
Oh yeah, at least that's what I'm told. I don't know how accurate that is. But I think when you talk about what else, I know that the city of Tacoma has had certain kinds of exchange programs, but there's one item that I want to make mention of when you talk about what else. In 1990 was my first visit to Vladivostok, or the Russian Far East for that matter, and out of that grew a sister port relationship. And one of the things we did, which we had never done before at the Port of Tacoma, was we did a youth exchange program between the two ports. And that, by the way, I have to give full credit to the leadership of Mikhail Rabkhanov, because he came up one day when I was over there visiting, because I was over there many times, came up with the idea to say, how do we encourage more a relationship, build not just a business relationship, but to get a better understanding of people-to-people relationship. And he suggested, well, why don't we do a youth exchange kind of a program we called it the Port Ambassador Program.
Port Ambassador.
And so we did. We took 20 people to Vladivostok, 15 of which was high school kids.
Oh wow!
And 5 chaperones. And mind you, this was at a pretty difficult time for the Russian economy and the transitioning. Food was still an issue, and I will tell you that that really influenced a whole bunch of us. We all went to language class for Russian, to how to speak Russian, and we then also had a delegation coming from the Port of Vladivostok. So what I would say is, I think we opened up a lot of individuals' eyes that was very different, and we've not done, that kind of program has not been done by the Port of Tacoma. And it's a program that I, as a commissioner, want to advance more of a thought process around that idea. Because I think we have a responsibility to promote cultural understanding as much as an economic understanding of our trading relationship, given the global economy and the debates we're now having in our society and a variety of other things. So I'm an advocate for